All right, it's Tuesday night. Rockstar Rally, welcome. I'm Jennifer Anderson, Superstar Director of Radiant Rockstars. This is my handsome husband, Nathan Anderson.
Hello.
He's a man of many words.
I will be shortly.
We are so excited. We love Tuesday nights. We love Rockstar Rally. We love getting to spend time with you. It is month end, so we have a lot going on. Are you guys tired? Yes. No? Some of you aren't? All right, cool. That's good for you. I'm drinking coffee at 8:30 at night. It's fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. It's all good. It has been an insane few months with Scentsy. We have a lot of fun things coming tomorrow. Anyone excited to see a fall and winter catalog? Ooh, I know. You guys, all I have to say is wait till you see it. And, you know, maybe as an SSD, you might get to see special things ahead of time. Potentially, maybe. I can't really say. But, you know, potentially you're going to love what you see tomorrow, maybe. For sure you will, I promise. It's really exciting. And we'll soon get to see fall and winter and holiday and all that good stuff. So we have a lot coming up. Tonight we're going to talk about, you know, we've been in like a whirlwind these last few months. And if you guys haven't noticed, like businesses all throughout Scentsy, all over the country are up, up, up. And we're talking not just like 10% growth, which would be good, steady growth, right? Double-digit growth is really good. We're talking not just 10%, 20%. We're talking not even 100%. We're talking people are up 200 and 300% year over year. Big, insane growth. It's what we call hyper growth. It is something no one predicted. It's something no one expected. It's something that is blowing all of our minds. And so tonight, what we're going to talk about is what to do during hypergrowth so that you set yourself up for success in the future, what your business is going to look like when we're not in a season of hypergrowth, you know, and kind of how, like, best practices on how to make the most out of what we've got going on. Because you guys, we got a lot going on. This massive, massive opportunities for all of us to build our business. So I know that my hubby has some things on his heart and on his mind that he wants to share with you. So I'm going to let him talk and then, you know, butt in like I do whenever I want to. But he's so gracious about it and he's the best. So, yeah.
So
what do you got to say, babe?
So what I wanted to kind of talk about tonight is just before we start talking about what you can do to move your business forward and what that looks like, what I wanted to talk about is how you got to where you are today. It's kind of where I wanted to start, and it'll be a good segue into what we want to talk about. So when highs get real high and lows get real low, whether it's with you or in your business, your company, whatever that looks like, what happens is we lose sight of what we're experiencing in the moment. And what I mean by that is you are getting out what you put into it. That kind of, when people say the consequence, and understand consequences are both good and bad. When your lows are low and your highs are highs, you're getting out what you put into it. So what I'm talking about is rewind before we've had this hyper growth as a company, okay? Most everybody is seeing highs right now. Now, if you were at $100 commission a month and now you're making $200 commission a month,
It's huge.
or whether you're at $800 a month and now you're making $1,200 or plus $5,000 to $6,000, whatever your paycheck looks like, it's a consequence of what you've put into your business the past 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. What you've put into your business is what you're experiencing today. The reason I say we so quickly forget is because when everybody experiences a high together, everyone kind of has that euphoric feeling together, and everybody kind of together has amnesia of how they got there. And what do they blame the good things on? The same thing they blame the bad things on, right? When things are really bad, what do? They blame it on market conditions. They blame it on the economy. They blame it on what's going on around them that's outside of their control. When things are really good, what do people do? They blame it on the economy, right? And you're not a bad person for blaming it on stuff. It's human nature. But you blame it on the economy. You blame it on market conditions, right? You blame it on whatever it may be. Right now, we're going through a pandemic and people are online shopping. And you're like, well, the only reason I'm successful, I'm not saying everyone, but some people have that thought, well, the only reason I'm seeing success right now is because people are just online retailing it. People are stuck in their houses. People want their houses to smell good, blah, blah, blah. You got to wake up and understand that the reason you are seeing this success is because what you have already done, the foundation that you have already built. Okay. Now, before I go any further, I want to preface that you do not have a boss. You are your own boss. I've been conditioned my entire life, except the past year, to answer to a boss. And success was never an elective for me. Success was a requirement to stay employed, right? Success was a requirement to get promoted and not get stepped over by someone else. You are in a business where you are in ultimate control to have the ultimate freedom and the ultimate decisions of what happens to you.
Amen.
You notice I said what you do happens to you, right? The boss is always concerned about what you do happens to them. That's why they're always pushing you and pushing you and pushing you. And you're like, man, I did such a great job last month. And they're like, well, what have you done for me lately, right? But you got to change your mindset is I'm not working for anybody except myself and my future. So with Scentsy, you're not investing in someone else's future. In Scentsy, you're always investing in your own future, okay? Now let's rewind to what we were talking about, like the consequences of getting to where you are. So some of you guys busted your tails and recruited your tails off last year, right? You now have recruits that are recruiting people during this hyper growth swing that would not exist. Some of you have went from teams of 0 to 15 last year, and now you're at 32, 42, 52, or maybe you're at 25 or 20. No matter what your growth rate is during this period, it would not have happened if you did not lay a foundation before this. Okay?
And just like I always say, and I've always taught this, like your success or your failure is entirely dependent upon you, and it's not external choices. It is your own choices, but it's not like external conditions. It's not your upline. It's not the amount of training you do or don't have. It's not your sponsor. It's not the products. It's not the company. It's not something's wrong with Scentsy's marketing. It's literally your choices and how much you put in or don't put into your business.
Now, when I'm talking about, what you have or haven't done, you're not at fault for anything. What I'm just talking about is the simple fact that you're getting out what you put in. So not good nor bad, but if you're cool making $100 a month and you just want mani-pedi, whatever you'd use your money for, get your hair dyed, whatever that looks like, if that's what you want to do, praise to you and your business. Like, that's awesome. If you want more, that's awesome. So I'm not talking about like you've done a good job or you've done a bad job. And if you didn't recruit your tail off, or if you didn't sell a lot 6 months ago, that you're suffering the consequences right now. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is everyone's experiencing a high, but understand the work that you put in back here made your high higher than what it would have been if you didn't. Just like if we're in a low season, right? The work you put in back here makes your low higher than what it would have been. Okay? So always remember, you are your own boss. I know you guys know this. I'm preaching to the choir. That's why you're here. Okay? So does everybody remember when you first started with Scentsy? Whether you were a lone wolf and you were like my wife and you found a Scentsy warmer at a charitable event for a church fundraiser for a kids program, and somebody put I don't exactly remember what warmer it was, but I don't remember it wasn't the best looking warmer that you've ever saw in your life. It was just kind of like, okay, the church keeps begging me for a warmer, here you go.
It was that warmer of the month that you can't get rid of, like someone stuck it in there basket, and they were like, here's a donation for you.
So
with a huge brick of like a scent that I didn't even like. Not even a wax bar, like a brick. Like I got a whole pound of the scent called Spring Clean, and it was like Granny's
I thought it was
home.
like called Marshmallow Dirt or something like that.
No.
So anywho, you got my wife's experience where no leadership, right? No sponsor. I think she went and just signed up under one of her friends that she went to school with, that ended up dropping out of the company, I think a few months after Jen started. So you got that story. You got the story of people that just were inspired by someone. You got other people that felt an inspiration with inside themselves of like, man, I can get more out of life. I can do better. I can do this. This is what I want. Whatever your story is, I want you to remember. Now, some people came from financial hardship and some people didn't come from financial hardship. Either way, that's okay. But at the end of the day, I want you to go back to a place in your mind of when you first started and you were hungry. You weren't just hungry, you were starving, right? You were starving. Whatever your goal was, you were starving for it. And you know how I know you were starving for it? Even though I don't know your goal or don't know who each one of you are personally, the reason I know you were starving for it is because you signed up. If you weren't hungry and you weren't starving, why would you sign up? Right? Why would you be in Radiant Rockstars tonight if you didn't have a fire in you for something more that you want to get out of life? So what I'm getting at is you were working your business like you were starving. Not literally starving, but you were starving for your goal. You were starving for freedom. You were starving for financial expansion. Whatever you were starving for, you were starving. And you were working your business like you didn't know if your next meal was coming, not even tomorrow. You didn't know if your next meal was coming for lunch. You had a light breakfast and you don't even know if your next meal or your kids' meals or your family, whoever, you didn't know if that next meal was coming. And that's the tenacity that you were working with, right? So let's get back to the highs. Right now we're in a high. What's the biggest pitfall of being in a high? You ride the wave. You go on cruise control. I was going to look up a really dumb fact, and I didn't look it up because I was like, what's even matter? I was going to look up how many people have been in car accidents due to cruise control alone. Because why? Why do they get in accidents in cruise control? You've all heard the stories that the first person that ever had cruise control, I believe it was a man, got up, left the wheel in his RV, went back to the bathroom, and his RV flipped because he thought cruise control would drive his vehicle. True story. Don't know if it was the first, but the rest is true. There's been so many accidents because of cruise control alone. Why? Because you take your mind off the road. You take your mind off your vision. You fall asleep at the wheel. Have you ever been driving and you're like consciously driving, but it's almost like a response like breathing where you don't even control it. It just controls itself. And then all of a sudden you kind of come to and you're like, oh crap, I'm going 65 miles an hour. Happens to us all the time. When you are in the period of cruise control with your business, you are losing so much opportunity for your future. Remember why you're experiencing the high right now. The reason you're higher than you ever thought you could have been is because of the groundwork you did 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years ago. So cruise control, you fall asleep at the wheel at your business. You may not feel it today. You may not feel it tomorrow.
You will in 90 days.
And the thing is let's just be devil's advocate and say you won't even feel it in 90 days. Let's say you don't even feel it in 2 years because you are a person of success and you're going to choose to be successful. But what everybody is guaranteed to feel is what could have been, right? What if you just coast for the next 6 months, right? Company projections, supposed to be fall and winter. Everything's supposed to be on this crazy high because naturally the business is high in fall and winter. So you cruise, right? You don't wake up. You're on cruise control. You're falling asleep right now. You don't wake up. Next thing you know, 3 months go by, 6 months go by. You're still seeing the sales. You're still getting the commission. Your team's still growing, but you're not putting in the work to grow horizontally, to get extra frontline. You're not putting in the work to grow your PRV. You're not putting in the work that are things that are going to make you successful. And let's even throw that out. Let's say you're only putting in half work. What you're half capable of, right? You're not giving it your all, half-hearted, lukewarm, whatever you want to call it. You're not giving it your all, right? Here's my biggest fear for you guys. And this is why I wanted to talk about cruise control right now while you're in such a high. If you're not fighting every day for yourselves, we're not just talking about working a business. We're talking about fighting for your why. If you're not working every day like you're starving to hit your goals, and you're doing everything you can and you're leaving it all out on the field, if you're not doing that every day, some of you might wake up in 6 months with your car flipped and be like, holy crap, my business is going backwards. This has never happened to me before. How did I get here? Right? We look at all critical moments in our lives, whether it's relationships with family members, with a spouse, significant other, whether it's your business, whether it's your goals, whether it's a relationship with a kid or something like that, or a parent, whatever that looks like. Very, very, very rarely do things deteriorate all at once, right? You always have that straw that broke the camel's back, but you had to put a lot of straws on that camel's back to get to that one straw that breaks and brings everything down. So I want this message to be a message of inspiration for you, but I also want it to be a wake-up call. That if you're where you want to be in your business, you keep going. I'm not your boss. Jen's not your boss. You are your boss. That's why you do this. But as a motivator and a personal coach, I want to tell you that if you want more out of this, and you want the next high to be even higher, and you want the next low to be even higher than what it would have been, put in the work now during the good times. A lot of business professionals have a golden rule above any other thing. You'd think, okay, what a business professional, blah, blah. Their golden rule is don't let your highs get too high and don't let your lows get too low. And it's talking more emotionally and mentally. When you let your highs get too high emotionally and mentally and your lows get too low, you take your focus off the road.
Not only that, but like specifically as a Scentsy business owner, when you do that, you exhaust yourself. You exhaust yourself because you don't have a time clock. You don't have a boss. Nobody makes you work. If you get too high and too low, what happens is you get tired, you get exhausted. And then when it's time to show up to work, you're like, I'm the boss and I don't feel like it. So bye, because I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this roller coaster, right? So I think that you have to really, really be cautious of like where your energy goes with that. But when he was talking about cruise control, I think there's two different ways that we can have cruise control. If you're a new consultant, it's not just for a seasoned consultant. We think about cruise control, seasoned consultant, you've already put in the work. This is a busy time with Scentsy. Your customers are buying Scentsy. It's easier to sell Scentsy right now than ever before because customers are just buying it as what it is, right? There's a tendency and a danger to go on cruise control, but there's also an opportunity for new consultants to go on cruise control and even season in this way when you can go on cruise control when you are not putting your pedal to the metal as far as your potential goes, as far as what you're actually capable of, okay? There's a cruise control where you can just coast and ride the wave that way, but then there's also one when we're talking about your capability, what you have the opportunity to actually do, which is more than you are giving yourself credit for. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. Whatever you think you're capable of or wherever you think your cap is, you can only go this high. I promise you can go further, okay? I promise. And I'm here to teach you that. But there's a tendency and a danger for you to shrink down to this level of capability because it's easier or it's comfortable or it's just simpler or whatever, right? When we're experiencing hypergrowth like this is not the time to chill. This is not the time to chill. Trust Jennifer. Like, this is the time, pedal to the metal. This is the time when things are coming to you. And if you want to maximize this time, look, you can go through this period of hypergrowth and not see a lot of great success through now. You can definitely be a consultant in 2020, be a Scentsy consultant and not have a bigger business at the end of the year than you did at the beginning. But that's because of choices that you make, right? Or you could be a consultant who takes this opportunity and maximizes it and runs with it. And you take every single possibility and opportunity to grow your business, whether that be through sales or recruiting or coaching. And you have a bigger team and a bigger business and a bigger reach and a bigger paycheck. And also what you do when you do that at the end of the year is you are diversifying your investment in this company so that when 2021 rolls around, your income is diversified and it's no longer so reliant on your own PRV. That's what happens when you build a business and build a team. You diversify your investment. Okay? You diversify where your time and where your income comes from, where you spend your time and how you get your income. And so I think that you have to identify, like, maybe you've been on cruise control for a little bit. Have you been doing cruise control in the, here's what I'm capable of and I'm really settling for less way? Or have you been doing cruise control as in, my customers are shopping with me, it's pretty easy, I don't have to do a lot of follow-up, I'm not really having to book parties, I don't have to try anything new because no, I'm getting 500 or I'm getting 1,000 PRV or I'm getting active or whatever. You guys, like, neither of those things are good. And like, you don't want to wake up and think about what could have been. You don't want to get to the end of the year and think about what your business could have looked like had you really given it your all, had you really put the pedal to the metal, had you really maximized every opportunity that came your way.
There's one thing that I've noticed, probably one of the more valuable lessons that I've ever learned in life is time is a currency you will never get back. And trajectory, you hear the word trajectory all the time, but it's like when you put it in perspective of you will never get time back, your time, your life, you will never get it back. You got one shot to walk this earth. You will never get that time back. You know, you were 18, you were 16, you were 15, you were 14 once, right? You can never get those years back. 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, you can never get time back. 45, 55, it's all going to come for all of us. You will never get that time back. And the trajectory is, your Scentsy business is very similar to a 401k in the fact that, you know, Jen was talking about diversification. The more you have invested in your 401k is essentially an investment into yourself, right? It's an investment. It's no one else's money but yours. And it's invested into the market to grow for security in your retirement. And the more you have in there, the more money you make off the market. And when you put, you know, when 3/4 of your life is over and you put $10,000 in there, you're going to get a lot less return. You might be lucky if you double your money by the time you're ready to retire. You put $10,000 in there at the age of 20. Well, a few years later, it's 12,000. Then a few years later, it's 14, then 16, then 18. Next thing you know, 7 years later, you have $20,000 in the market. And it's not just that you doubled your money, you have $20,000 in the market that's now growing. So when you think about your Scentsy business, that's why I was so convicted about, man, I've seen it time and time again in business when things are going good and people just, they let off the gas. And then they end up saying, what happened? I was on such a roll. I was doing so good. What happened? Build your investment now. Your Scentsy 401k, however you want to look at it, build it now. because the trajectory we're talking about is wherever you are, if your trajectory is going up, the quicker you hit it on your timeline, that time you will never get back, the quicker you hit it. Why hit your trajectory up here on your timeline when you can hit the same trajectory back here on your timeline? Does that make sense? Because if you hit this trajectory, right, we're going to go to the top of the screen as illustration, it's capped out right there. So if you hit it right here on your timeline, it's capped out right there. That's the end of the road. But if you hit it right here on your timeline, look how much time you have left for that trajectory to keep going higher, right? So do it for yourself, do it for your family, do it for your why, do it for whatever drives you. But don't wait for tomorrow, because you will never get today back. Okay?
It's good. So listen, I also want to share something with you because I think it's really important. So every month I share my paycheck with our directors and above. So with our directors and above, I share them what my paycheck looked like, how I earned it, where my opportunities are to make more income, where I have an opportunity to, grow my income, or I'm missing money or whatever. So I share these numbers with our directors and above every single month, because I think it's really important that we talk about money. We don't talk about it enough in Scentsy. And I remember when I was a newer consultant, I was always like, what do SSDs even make? You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like? Like, can that really even be like life-changing income? Blah, 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 So I'm going to share with you, I joined Scentsy in 2010, and in 2011, for June 2011, so this was like one of my first seasons in Scentsy, my paycheck was $417 for the month. Okay. Now that's a nice chunk of change. That was half of our mortgage payment at the time. That was tanks of gas. That was date nights. That was getting my hair done, stuff like that. I also need you to know that I was, like, no joke, $30,000 in debt. Okay. Not him, me. I was $30,000 in debt, and I'll share that another time with you, but he so graciously, took that on with me when we got married, and he didn't have to do that, but he said, like, we're going to do this, we're going to tackle it together. And for that, I'm like eternally grateful. But I was $30,000 in debt, working full-time, plus Scentsy, plus side jobs. Like, I'd pick up babysitting or nannying or house cleaning. I'm talking, you name it. If there was an opportunity for me to earn income, I did it, because I just wanted to pay off that debt so bad, and I was like, I don't want to live this life anymore like that. So 2011, I made $418. The next year, my paycheck in that same month was $1,596. Okay. So almost four times. Okay. In 1 year, I almost quadrupled my paycheck. And that was the year I promoted to director. I earned an incentive trip. I recruited on average 2 to 5 people every single month. I hit over 2,000 PRV every month. So that just shows you the year after that, 2013, my paycheck was $1,499. Okay. So it stayed pretty consistent for several years, hit SD, hit SSD. You guys want to know what my paycheck was in 2020? $23,532. That's 1 month. $23,532. I don't say that to brag. I don't say that to boast. I say that so you know what's possible. I say that so that you know what your opportunities are with Scentsy. And you guys, there are people who make a lot more money than I make. Okay. What $23,000 in a month looks like is almost 10 years of incredibly hard work, consistency, never giving up. It's hard to be the person who doesn't quit, right? Literally never giving up. That continued trajectory that Nathan talked about, putting my nose to the ground and getting to work. I was consistent, and I still am consistent, right? Selling, recruiting, training myself, going to SFR, going to training, showing up, doing the things that you guys are doing right now. If you stay consistent and work through, especially these times of hypergrowth, and you work through the lows. You can't take it easy during the lows either, because you guys, lows do come. It's a very natural part of business. There are highs, there are lows, there are in-betweens, and you have to keep working during the lows. Here's something that served me really well.
I want to bring something up while she's on that topic. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember when we were back in Roanoke, I think it was like 4 years, 5 years in a row, because everybody hears that latest paycheck, right? And that's a monthly income. And they're just like, oh my gosh, I want that. They don't realize that we're not anything special. We didn't have a silver spoon. We both came from
paycheck
very
to paycheck
poor,
families.
very poor families. We both came from very poor families. My dad was a steel mill worker out of high school, and my mom was a teacher's aide when I was a child. My mom was making like $5,000 a year, guys. My dad was a steel mill worker out of high school, didn't have the most fabulous education. Her parents were no different.
Together, my parents made $18,000.
And I remember
in a year together
that we were just fighters for everything we ever had. And one of the matrices that we were tracking in our business, and I think it was like 4 or 5 years, guys. It wasn't one bad month and we looked at each other and said, what are we doing? It was like 4 or 5 years of struggle where we were looking at each other. And I remember the matrix, it had to do with like 100 people. It had to do with one of the matrices on our team. We needed 100 people. And 1 month, and like this 4 or 5 years, 1 month she got up to 130. And we were like, oh my gosh, we finally did it. We finally had a breakthrough. The next month we were back down to like 70. And we were looking at each other like, what are we doing? But at the end of the day, we were fighters. And you know how many people would have looked on the outside looking in and said, you're idiots. What are you doing? Just give up. You know why? Because sheep want to be sheep, and they're scared when they see a shepherd. They're scared when they see someone step out from the pack. And the thing that sucks about that in life is sometimes it's the closest people to us that hurt us and say, you can't do it. What are you doing? You can't do it. This doesn't make sense. This business model does.
And you know what? Let's be really honest too. During that time, my husband was working for corporate America. Okay. He was in an employer mindset. Like being a business owner, that was something like never even thought about, you know what I mean? So, but I always had this vision. And I remember I went to my first SFR and I went into the bathroom stall and I called him and I was like, I'm going to retire you from your job. And he was like, okay, babe. And I was like, no, I'm really going to do it. I swear. And he's like, okay, he wasn't like a jerk about it, but he, you know what I mean? He's like, okay, we'll see this candle business, Scentsy thing, whatever. So we'll see how it goes. And I told him, I said, like, I'm going to retire you from your job. And I said that year after year after year after year after year. Okay. 9 years it took me in this business until he got to retire. 9 years. But there were 4 solid years where I went through, I earned the incentive trip in the top of the company every single year, top 100, top 50, whatever, I earned it. Annual sales and annual mentor every single year. Sold over 2,000 PRV, recruited 2 to 5 every single month. But guess what? My paycheck didn't change for 4 years. And the team size didn't change for 4 years. Nothing changed. And I was doing all the right things. Nothing changed. And anyone would have looked at us and been like, this is so dumb. Like, just quit. This is ridiculous. And even he said during that time, he was like, why don't you just quit? You know what I mean? It happens. That's how hard it gets sometimes. It gets that low. We can be real enough to say that, but that was a totally, what is that? Oh, that's my dog. I'm like, what is that? That is a totally different, it's like a totally different mindset. And like, we're so on the same page now and have been for the last several years, but like, guys, you have to keep working even through those times. And this is what I was going to tell you. Something that served me really well in my business is to work every 70 days. Okay. Like you are a brand new consultant trying to reach sensational start level 3. That's what you should do in your business. Reset every 70 days. So tomorrow, okay, today's already done. So tomorrow, what's tomorrow? July 1st? This is how bad it is when you work from home. And you guys know, because you guys are on the work from home bus, some of you, and you know, you don't even know what day it is or what the date is ever. Today's July 1st. I mean, today's June 30th. Tomorrow, July 1st, Wednesday, that can be day one for you. And so you're going to get out your calendar and you're going to write day 1, day 2, day 3, although it's calendar days. So it's pretty easy. Once you get through August, and then you're going to have middle of September will be day 70, and then you're going to start over. But you're going to give yourself a 70-day deadline that you have to be like a new consultant trying to reach sensational start level 3. That either means you sell 6,000 PRV, okay? Or you sell 3,000 and recruit 2 or 3. Okay? You want to be a new consultant who reaches sensational start level 3 every 70 days. When you do that, when you're working all the time like you're a brand new consultant, yes, even as an SSD, I still do that. Because that keeps your business growing, that keeps your frontline growing, that keeps the PRV flowing in. And let me tell you a secret. Building your frontline, building as wide as you possibly can. Chloe's scraping her butt on the carpet for you. Hi, Chloe. Building your frontline as wide as you possibly can, that is the secret to big growth. You should all have a goal of 100 frontline, ASAP. You want to make big money, you want to be an SSD, you want to make life-changing income, you want to do whatever you want to do. I don't care if you want to drive a Range Rover, if you want to save it all, if you want to bury it all under your mattress. I don't care what you do with your money. But money can give you freedom. Like we've talked about, money gives you choices, the option to say yes instead of saying no. And if you want that, it's a build to 100 frontline and act like you're a new consultant every 70 days trying to reach sensational start level 3. That's it. And don't quit. Don't quit if it's hard. Don't quit if it's uncomfortable. Don't quit it if it isn't coming easy to you. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. And if you need a reminder to keep going, you reach out to your sponsor, you reach out to your director, you reach out to your SSD, you reach out to Kristen, you reach out to me. I don't care. Keep going. That's the magic sauce.
Do it for you.
You heard me say it, like, go change the world, but guys, like, go change your world. You have the opportunity to change your world, so go change your world, okay? I love you guys. We'll see you next Tuesday. Happy month end. Bye-bye.